I'm 76 years old. I've been sitting with this for a long time now, and I think I finally understand why my children drifted away. It didn't come to me all at once. It wasn't some sudden realization that hit me like a blow. It came quietly, the way most important things do when you're this old. Slowly. When the house got quieter. When the phone stopped ringing. When birthdays came and went without a knock on the door. I'm not telling this to excuse myself, and I'm not telling it because I think there's anything left to fix. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left, and the truth doesn't scare me the way it used to. Most days now, I wake up early. My body doesn't let me sleep in anymore. I sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that goes cold before I finish it. I look at the same walls I've been looking at for decades. The house is still standing. Everything I worked for is still here. But the people I thought would fill it are gone. I used to think distance happened because of big fights, slamming doors, harsh words, something dramatic. That's what I told myself for years. That if only I could remember the moment things broke, I could understand it. But there wasn't a moment. That's what took me so long to see. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do. I got married, I found steady work, I showed up every day, I paid the bills on time, I didn't run around, I didn't abandon my family. I believed that was enough. I worked long hours, not because I loved the job, but because I believed providing was the same thing as caring. I believed responsibility was love. I believed being tired at the end of the day meant I had done my part. When I came home, I wanted quiet. I wanted rest. The house was loud then. Toys on the floor. Voices calling my name. Questions I didn't have the patience to answer. I'd sit in my chair and tell myself I deserved a little peace. I didn't notice how often I said, later. Later we'll talk. Later we'll play. Later I'll listen. Later always felt reasonable. Later felt responsible. Later felt like something I'd get to once things settled down. Things never settled down. I went to their school events, but I was distracted. I clapped when everyone else clapped. I smiled when it seemed appropriate, but my mind was always somewhere else. Work, money, the next thing that needed fixing. At dinner, I asked about their day, but I didn't really hear the answers. I nodded. I corrected them sometimes. I told them what they should have done differently. I thought I was helping. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't violent. I didn't scream. And because of that, I convinced myself I was a good parent. What I didn't see was how distant I already was. As they grew older, they stopped trying so hard to tell me things. Conversations got shorter. Answers became simpler. I didn't ask why. I thought it was just part of growing up. Teenagers pulling away. That's what people said. I let myself believe it because it was easier than looking at my own habits. There are moments I remember now that didn't seem important at the time. One of them came home upset after a bad day at school. I was reading the paper. I told them we'd talk later. Later never came. Another time, one of them asked if I could come watch them do something they were proud of. I said I couldn't get off work. I didn't try very hard to get off work. I told myself there would be more chances. Years passed like that, quietly, without alarms. By the time they were adults, the distance felt normal. They called less. They visited less. I noticed it. But I blamed busyness, jobs, families of their own. Life moves on, I told myself. What I didn't realize was that life had already moved on without me. The turning point didn't come with a fight. It came with silence. I remember sitting in a hospital waiting room after a health scare of my own. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make me think about endings. I looked around and saw people my age surrounded by their children, hands being held, quiet conversations, familiar voices. I sat alone. I told myself they were busy. I told myself I hadn't wanted to worry them. I told myself a lot of things. But something cracked open in me that day. After that, I started replaying my life in smaller pieces. Not the big milestones. The ordinary days, the evenings, the mornings, the moments I thought didn't matter. I realized how often I had chosen being right over being kind. How often I corrected instead of comforted. How often I spoke when I should have listened. I realized I knew how to provide, but I never learned how to be present. The hardest part is understanding that I wasn't trying to hurt them. I truly believed I was doing the right thing. I believed love was shown through sacrifice and structure and discipline. What I didn't understand was that children don't feel love in theory. They feel it in attention, in being seen, in being chosen. And I didn't choose them often enough. By the time I noticed the distance clearly, it had already hardened. You can't suddenly step into a role you've been slowly stepping out of for decades. I reached out more in my 60s, tried to ask questions, tried to reconnect. But by then, they had learned how to live without my emotional presence. My sudden interest felt unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable. I don't blame them for that. There are things now that can't be fixed. I won't be the person they call first when something good or bad happens. I won't be the one they seek advice from. I won't be woven into their daily lives the way I once assumed I would be. Time doesn't circle back. It just keeps moving forward, whether you're ready or not. That's a hard thing to accept when you've spent your whole life believing effort could solve anything. Sometimes I imagine what it would have been like if I had put down the paper more often, if I had asked follow-up questions, if I had let go of being in charge and just sat on the floor with them. Those thoughts don't come with drama. They come with a quiet ache, the kind that settles into your bones. If you're listening to this and you have children or people you love, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't think life works that way. I can only tell you what I learned too late. Presence doesn't announce itself as important in the moment. It looks ordinary. It feels inconvenient. It asks for your attention when you think you don't have any left. But absence leaves a permanent shape. My children didn't drift away because of one mistake. They drifted because of thousands of small moments where I wasn't really there. Moments I thought were forgettable. Moments they remembered. Now, at 76, my days are slower. I have plenty of time. Ironically, more time than I ever had when it mattered most. I accept that some distances remain. I'm grateful for what connection still exists, even if it's limited. I've learned not to demand closeness that hasn't been built. I live with both gratitude and regret now. They sit side by side. If this meant something to you, if it stirred something you weren't expecting, I hope you sit with it quietly. That's all. As for me, I'll finish my coffee, I'll look at the walls, and I'll hold this understanding gently, even though it came too late to change much.